Well, he didn't do it on a random morning FM radio show this year, but Jimbo Fisher finally announced quarterback one for Texas A&M in 2023, and it is, of course, Connor Weigman. Most of us are not surprised by this news, only surprised by the fact that it took so long to come out. But at this point, this is pretty much Jimbo's routine. It followed the same timeline as the last few years. Jimbo usually takes his time with these decisions and lets the quarterbacks battle it out in camp. Having to battle an opposing player for a position battle in camp only adds to more of that game-like stress that you want players to experience during practice, especially during fall camp where they're doing the most rigorous types of practice they'll do all year, playing in the heat, a very demanding schedule, and of course adding on top of that competition for a position group. It only makes the players better. I think Connor will come out stronger from this. And so will Max. You have a great, serviceable backup quarterback now. Max Johnson has to be in the top 3 backup quarterbacks in all the country. We know last year how important that can be, and the year before, so it's really nice to have Max there in the room, locked in, ready to go when needed. But it's really no surprise that Connor got it. He's the younger guy, probably has more upside, definitely has more upside, and he fits the timeline of the rest of these 2022 class players that are kind of the cornerstone of the team right now. Most of the talent, most of the players that play down to down are going to come from that 2022 class for the next 2 or 3 years. So it's really good to have a quarterback that can kind of grow and build with them. In addition to that, last year was obviously a terrible offensive year for Texas A&M football, a bad year all around. But the 2 bright spots on offense, the games versus LSU and Ole Miss, those are games where Connor and his receiver group and the O-line all kind of played really well together. And it seems like they're trying to emulate that same formula this year, where it was Connor throwing these really, really accurate jump balls to Evan Stewart, Moose Muhammad. He has a knack for putting the ball in a place that his receiver can go up and get it. I mean, a lot of times these 50-50 balls, they can be crapshoots, very dangerous kind of ball. But the way Connor throws these balls, he really gives his really talented receivers a chance to get them. So you like that. You like his quicker feet. You like his really quick release that we've seen glimpses of throughout this fall camp. Connor should be in for a hell of a year, especially drawing on that experience he gained last year where a couple of times it just seems like he needed a couple more milliseconds to make decisions, maybe caught not making decisions at times where you just kind of get caught in no man's land. That stuff got better and better throughout the duration of Connor's stretch of games last year and should only be much improved going into this year. So it's who we thought it would be. None of us are really surprised. What do you guys think about the announcement coming in week 1? But that wasn't all Jimbo had to say in his press conference this Monday. He talked a lot about some position battles, some players who have maybe risen to the top throughout camp. But before I get into that, if you guys like this kind of Aggie content, please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps me greatly. Throughout the duration of the regular season, I'm going to be doing 3 guaranteed videos a week. Of course, I could put more videos in there as news or things develop, but the 3 videos are going to be, first of all, a post-game reaction. Every game, I'm going to jump right on and give you my initial, raw, emotional reaction. And then on Mondays, I'm going to give you a second reaction, but after I've watched film, after I've processed the game, after we've gotten more news, and just kind of give you a bigger picture glimpse of the Aggie program week to week. And then middle of the week, I'm going to drop a pre-game video where we preview the game on the upcoming Saturday, maybe talk a little trash, have a little fun with it. If you were here last year, you know what I'm getting at. Some of those videos got kind of wild. But jump on in, guys. Please subscribe if you like this kind of thing. So Jimbo Fisher talked about a couple other position battles that I want to get into. He was asked about the offensive line, specifically the tackles, and he told us that Chase Basantis will be starting at tackle. Ruben Fothery is still nursing back up to speed, and then Trey Zune will retain his left tackle starting spot. That's huge. Chase Basantis, we've talked about him a lot on this show. We've heard a lot about him throughout, well, pretty much since he got to Texas A&M. He's turned heads since he got on campus, and he won the starting job over a couple of other really good guys, a rebounding Ruben Fothery, Crownover, who has apparently improved a lot this fall camp. Basantis was the guy. Is Fothery going to come back and take that thing from him? Is Trey Zune's position maybe in jeopardy when Ruben comes back? Or is Ruben just going to have to earn this thing again? Because if you get that freshman in there and he gets a couple starts under his belt and he starts getting really good, do you really want to sit the freshman down? I mean, that's huge. It's great to see these young freshmen make names for themselves, and it sounds like there's going to be one starting at O-line this coming Saturday. So that's really cool. Then Jimbo was also asked about Torian York, who we have heard rumblings about earning a starting position on this defense. That stemmed from one of his parents going on Facebook and basically announcing that Torian was a starter. I don't think that he or she was supposed to do that based on the message, but, you know, excited parents sometimes do that kind of thing. And Jimbo kind of gushed about how Torian York is a really smart player that could be trusted to diagnose and call plays for a defense, get players into position, calling the linebacker position a quarterback of the defense. I'm pretty sure he's called the safeties the quarterback of the defense as well. But whatever, we'll take it. We're taking it as a compliment for Torian York. That is another impact freshman that you should expect to see a lot of to start the year out. So we got those two depth chart announcements, and I'm going to draw on an image that was created by Chance Bitters on Twitter. If you don't follow him, go follow him. He gave me permission to use this in my videos. And we can just kind of look at how this depth chart is looking now going into week one. And the thing that's always so impressive about this depth chart is just how that defensive line group looks when it's all set out in front of you. The way waves and waves can just attack you. But really, we're looking at this to see how that O-line is going to shake out. It looks like Basantis is starting at right tackle. Now, another thing that Jimbo did mention was that he's not sure if Foster has re-earned that starting center spot just yet after missing a couple weeks of practice. And as we all know, Bryce Foster doesn't practice in spring because of track obligations. So he's very limited on practice experience this year, which is kind of scary. He is an athletic freak, so you would think he's still in pretty good shape, still very strong. He probably has stayed in the weight room the whole time. If you just look at his calves, you know what I mean. So we're not sure if it's going to be Foster, Naboo, Strickland starting at center. I think it's going to be Foster. I think they're going to roll the dice and let him play coming off of only a week and a half or so of practice. He did practice earlier in fall camp, but missed a couple of weeks in the middle. So that's one to look out for. But the rest of this thing looks pretty much set in stone. It sounds like, based on player interviews, based on how the coaches have sounded, that we're going to be seeing a running back by committee, which is something that I've been calling for a couple of years now. Even with A-Chain, I felt like a couple other guys could play a little bit more just to give A-Chain that spell. I think we're really going to get a lot of that this year, where it's going to be 1/3 of the share is going to go to each player. I really think that's what we're going to see this week. That's something to look out for, especially in the first half, before hopefully the backups start getting in. You really want to keep an eye on that and keep an eye on that starting center. Torian York starting at linebacker, that's huge. You really needed someone to emerge in that linebacker room, and it sounds like he's the guy to do it. So let's keep an eye on him and see how he looks. But this team looks really good. The only big question mark remaining is this cornerback rotation. We've heard a lot about Javen Thomas from players throughout all of fall camp. Multiple players have mentioned him as a standout. He looks really good in drills. And then I've always thought DeBerry was going to contend for that other corner spot. I still think it's one of those two guys that will start, but we should see a rotation there. So guys, how do you feel about this depth chart kind of getting finalized? We should get something official by Thursday or Friday, but y'all know how these early season depth charts are. There's going to be about 20 ors on that thing and about 0 things to take home and set in stone. So we'll have to really keep an eye on things in this first game. We're all going to be doing it. We're all going to be observing with a microscopic lens, and we're going to be checking this team out. So I'm really excited to see Connor and these receivers grow together. I know this offensive line is going to be improved. It's a matter of how much it does improve. You are starting a true freshman on it, which is never something you really want to do. But based on what we've heard about Chase Basantis, he could be something really special. So we'll be keeping an eye on him. Guys, what are your big takeaways from Jimbo's presser today? Give me any notes you have going into this year. I will see you guys Wednesday with my New Mexico preview video. Until then, thanks and gig 'em.